Welcome back to It Ain't Rocket Science. I'm Adam Balkin. So, continuing our look at the watershed, we're now on to stage 2, the journey, what it takes to get that water from the top down to the bottom.
So they're looking today at both how the water moves, so how it's going from those higher peaks and little creeks like this one into the mainstream of the river and then down into Lake Sequoia and being distributed from there.
Here, students are up close and personal with the Sequoia River to learn about the middle stage of this watershed, a learning occasion they'd never get in the classroom.
You want to experience everything instead of just looking at it in a book and not learning much.
These junior rangers spent their day learning about how water travels from the snowpack at the top of the mountain down to the valley below and the role it plays in sustaining life in the park it towers over. And they saw signs indicating the presence of Native American populations who sustained life here years ago along the riverbed as they got knee-deep in the water searching for tiny macroinvertebrates, which students learned can act as an environmental early warning system.
The little insects that we could find in the water, those could let us tell us how if the water is polluted or not.
But those weren't the only critters they encountered. These little guys, although cute as can be, pack a powerful punch. Their bright coloring tells predators that they are poisonous. One drop of their poison is powerful enough to kill 1,000 mice. But not to worry, they're safe to touch.
We can find them in these pools, and they actually get to see that these newts rely on the water for carrying on their population. So that's another factor where the drought and the pollution comes in. They learn what kind of effects these things could have on their watershed.
At the end of their day along the river, park guides led the students in a fun-spirited rain dance to end the drought. And just at the height of the dance, it started to rain. Now to a different type of journey, this one more of an engineering journey, we caught up with some teens participating in this year's FIRST Robotics competition.
It's a battle of the bots as FIRST Robotics teams from across the country begin competing in this year's regional competitions. Student-built robots toss and climb to score points in this year's game, Aerial Assist. We caught up with one team that made it to the final rounds of the national competition last year to see how this year's game measures up.
In other years, you can be that star robot, that all-star robot that everybody wants to have on their team, but this year, the game is more centered on assisting your teammates.
It's more difficult because the game object is humongous, like it's a huge big ball. Last year it was Frisbees.
These students spent their last hours tinkering before their robot is boxed up and shipped out. They won't see it again until they're reunited at regionals. For some, it will be their last regional competition, as all the seniors on this team are off to college.
It takes what I learned in class, which is more conceptual and textbook work, to a hands-on aspect to it.
I didn't know engineering could be so fun until I joined the team. You know, it makes everything more interesting.
One new addition to Team 1660's arsenal this year and an added learning tool, a 3D printer.
I created a 3D model for this piece. And so this piece serves as a stopper for the launching frame.
The Harlem Knights will put their 3D printed parts to use in the New York City regional competition, with their sights set on a spot in the World Championship in St. Louis, April 21st through 26th. For It Ain't Rocket Science, I'm Tara Lynn Wagner.
Now obviously engineering can take on several forms, from robotics to, as some girls in North Carolina learned, some of the engineering we all experience every day when we ride in our cars.
Jessica Anderson may be skipping class, but she's learning lessons that will last a lifetime. During this day-long workshop hosted by North Carolina's Department of Transportation, Jessica, along with 24 other high school girls, are doing this, turning ordinary objects like CDs, tape, and rubber bands into rubber band cars.
You start with an initial design, you go back, you test it, you find out what's wrong, you fix it, and then you create a better design.
It's an exercise to promote critical thinking.
Hopefully we're going to inspire that in the girls today and kind of show them how to do that.
The mission to get girls thinking about a career path as an engineer. Right now, less than 10% of the more than 60 million working women nationwide are engineers.
I just want to see a lot more girls go, at least try to be in those fields. I want to become a software engineer and eventually open up my own business.
It's a push to shape today's students into tomorrow's talent while bridging the gender gap at the same time. For It Ain't Rocket Science, I'm Lenny Supal.
Now sometimes you might think, all right, I understand why I have to learn math, but would I ever really want to learn math? I think I have found a reason for you to answer yes, to that question? It all has to do with sports, basketball to be specific. The NCAA's March Madness is one of the most popular sporting tournaments in the U.S., but did you know that math can actually help you predict a winning bracket? The National Museum of Mathematics hosted an event called March Madness, teaching ways to fill out a winning and possibly even perfect bracket by using math, which could be particularly important this year since Quicken Loans is offering a $1 billion prize if anyone can pick all 68 winners for a perfect bracket.
Often people are looking for reasons that math can be effective and that they can understand math. And then this is a very applied setting.
There's so many different ways to do it, and all of them could produce a perfect bracket.
As far as what I've been experimenting, it's been pretty accurate for the past seasons that I'm inputting.
Tim says computer applications have outperformed 99.9% of brackets in ESPN's online competition in recent years. We do have to stop here for one more quick break. Coming up, though, we'll complete the journey from top to bottom in the Kauai watershed and see where all that water ends up. Check out how a group of students in North Carolina is learning how to harness the power of wind, and look at this technology on the move as one artist combines art and engineering. Pledge to connect a young person in your life to the wonders of science, technology, engineering, and math at connectamillionminds.com/pledge.